Hello friends, today I am paddling to Masonboro Island and just enjoying this great weather. October is really the best time to live at the beach, right? I mean, it's just amazing today. So I invite you now to hear this word of the Lord from Ecclesiastes 2, 4 through 11. These are the words of King Solomon. I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself and planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made reservoirs to water groves of flourishing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had other slaves who were born in my house. I also owned more herds and flocks than anyone in Jerusalem before me. I amassed silver and gold for myself and the treasure of kings and provinces. I acquired men and women singers and a harem as well, the delights of the heart of man. I became greater by far than anyone in Jerusalem before me, and all my wisdom stayed with me. I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my work, and this was the reward for all my labor. Yet, when I surveyed all that my hands had done, and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. Aristotle, who was born several hundred years after King Solomon, he was learning a lesson that King Solomon had already learned. Aristotle contemplated what it meant to have the good life. There was a Greek word they used for this. It was called eudaimonia. Eudaimonia. This is the word they often talked about in the Greek thinking. And here's what they discovered. They said there are ways not to get to the good life, right? And there's a particular phrase that we now know today. We call it hedonic adaptation. Hedonic adaptation. I want you to remember this week because I think a lot of you are probably living in hedonic adaptation. It's basically this. It's the idea that in order to have a good life, a satisfying, meaningful life, you have to have more pleasures than pain. So here are your pleasures, here are your pains, and you want to try to have more of those than you do pain. And so hedonic adaptation is when you're constantly striving for pleasures, but when you get those pleasures, they're no longer as great once you have them for a while. It's almost like a little kid on Christmas Day. They have this rush of energy playing with their toys, and then in a week they don't really play with them anymore. We still do that as adults. You get a new truck and you're so excited, you've been saving for it, and then you get it, and then after a week you're like, well, this is just okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not really satisfying me, right? So then I was at a restaurant recently, a couple weeks ago, and there was this burger there I'd never tried, but I heard it was good, so I got it. It was a pimento cheese burger. Now, granted, it was a vegan burger. I'll give you that. Like, I know, don't roll your eyes, but they make this burger in-house. It's so good. The pimento cheese made in-house, so good. They have a little onion jam at the bottom that gives it some sweetness, and it's a pretzel bun. Oh, it's so good. And I had this burger, and I felt myself levitating off the chair. I felt like my soul left my body, and I looked at Lindsay, and I said, Lindsay, this is the best burger I've ever had. This is amazing. So flash forward a week, and we're driving back to the restaurant, and I say, I'm going to get that burger again. And Lindsay says, there's research that suggests that when you have a great meal like that, it's never as good the second time you eat it. And I said, Lindsay, don't ruin my dinner. Don't ruin my dinner. I'm going to get this burger again. So I eat it. I get the burger. We go back in the car, and she asked me, Russ, was it as good? And out of pride, I said, yes, it was. But it wasn't. I didn't levitate this time. My soul didn't leave my body this time, right? And that's how it is with a lot of things in life. We indulge ourselves, and then when we get there, it's just not as good anymore. And so you have to get more and more. Hedonic adaptation. King Solomon was learning this lesson. In fact, it took him his whole life to learn this particular lesson. Here's what happened. When he was a young man, he was a young and righteous man, and when he became king at a young age, he prayed to God. He said, God, give me wisdom. Give me wisdom to govern this kingdom. And God was floored. He said, kings, they don't ask for wisdom, they ask for riches. You asked for wisdom. And so God not only grants him wisdom, which is what he's known for, but he granted him wealth. Tons and tons of wealth. And those two things kind of work together. He wasn't the king over the richest kingdom in the world, but he became the richest king because kings and queens would seek him out for advice on how to rule their kingdom, and they would give him heaps of wealth. And so he just got richer and richer. And it was said that he had 14,000 chariots, 12,000 horses. He had more chariots than horses. I think, having been to Jerusalem, I wonder where he put those chariots. Did he build a garage for all the chariots? His palace, the scripture said it took him 7 years to build the temple. It took him 13 years to build his palace. It's a little foreshadowing in 1 Kings. They were saying, hey, the older he got, he was getting more consumed with pleasures and riches and high life. And he spent 13 years building his palace. And that's where all of his attention went. Even the utensils in his palace, they were gold. Most palaces had silver utensils. He had golden utensils. He had 700 wives and over 1,000 wives and concubines. Seems like a lot of anniversaries to remember. and then his throne, this was the gaudiest thing, his throne, it was this throne where it was like 6 steps up. But then when he got there, it was on either side there were these golden winged lions that were like roaring at you. So when you approached the throne, you saw these 2 golden winged lions roaring at you. Then the throne itself was made of ivory. And even that wasn't good enough. As he sat on that throne, he thought, this is just okay, an ivory throne. Let's cover it in gold. So his throne was literally ivory underneath gold. I mean, just like pure extravagance. Scriptures say that the older he got, the more consumed he got with pleasures and wealth and all these indulgements. And then in Ecclesiastes 2, tradition says that he wrote these words, and in these words he says, look, this is at the end of his life. He says, all this stuff I acquired, it was vanity. It was a chasing after the wind. I was wrong. It's a windy day today. It's actually propelling me toward Masonville Island. I'm not even battling, and boy, some of us are just trying to catch that wind. Everything we do, it's hard. And so there's a lesson here for us in the life of King Solomon. It's a lesson. Aristotle, or hundreds of years afterwards, all he had to do was read Ecclesiastes to know what was going on, and we can learn that today. And it's really this: want what you have. Want what you have. Don't strive for things you don't have. Want what you have. It's really simple. I read this interesting study recently. It was published a couple years ago, and they were trying to figure out which income level is most generous, which income level gives a higher percentage of stuff to charities and churches. And here's what they discovered. They discovered that if you make under $30,000 a year, if you're a household unit making under $30,000 a year, first of all, you're in poverty, but you give a higher percentage than those who earn more than $100,000 a year. There's a simple reason for that. First, the more you get, the harder it is to let go. But also, the more you have, kind of like King Solomon, if you have 14,000 chariots, you have to spend more to maintain them. Those chariots break down and you got to pay people to fix it. If you have 12,000 horses, you have to pay money to give them hay. Like it's an expensive endeavor. And so the more money you have, the more you spend, which means the more you spend to maintain. Also, you have a higher lifestyle, you have to work harder to maintain that lifestyle, which means you have less hours of your time to give as well. And so it kind of works against you there. John Mark Comer said that it's not atheism that's replacing Christianity. It's actually, in actuality, it's consumerism. Amazon.com is our new religion. Double-clicking on your phone to get that next product, that's our new liturgy. The altar is that box that comes to our door, and we hold it up and we say, that's kind of, or many of us are, right? We don't realize it, but we're all sort of heading in that direction. We're all kind of laying at ourselves at the altar of capitalism. It's kind of like many of us who are on that hedonic treadmill. It's kind of like being locked in a supermarket and starving to death. In other words, God gives us everything that we need and then some, and yet our souls are still starving. And it's like being locked in a supermarket and starving to death. So my challenge to you this week is this: want what you have. Be intentional about enjoying God's blessings. Enjoy what God has given you. What God has given you is a gift. I mean, it's beautiful weather right now. Enjoy this weather. Go outside and enjoy it, and let that sun and that breeze, let that be your blessings. If you've got a small back porch, maybe you just have a small apartment. If you've got a small back porch, go out and enjoy that back porch. Just want what you have. That's what King Solomon was saying. That's what he wished he had done, was he wished he had just enjoyed what God had given him. He didn't need 700 wives. He didn't need 14,000 chariots or a gold-plated throne. He just needed to want what God had given him. That's part of what it means to have the good life. My friends, that's my challenge to you this week, is to want what you already have. Thanks be to God. Amen. All right, I'm here. And there is absolutely no one on this beach today. It's beautiful. Have a blessed week.